This is why we're testing, folks. This is why we're testing. We are live on Facebook now. Oh, and for the folks on Facebook, we've been doing this a while, so I'm going to play this again.
Welcome to the Tea Party with Marty Abernathy, a show by an ultra-feminine, meek, shy, totally unopinionated trans woman that seeks to listen to both sides and does not make fun of TERFs. You've listened to the show, right? You still want me to say this? Okay. Here's your host, Marty Abernathy.
Yay! I love doing that. I am searching for a royalty-free song to come in on. I'm interested in seeing how that works. But tonight we're talking about TERF trebles. And we are on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitch and on... We're every place. We're every place. And we have TERF trebles tonight. So, and one, this, Malachite tiger, I believe that's what that says. Well, there are a few who have the same, if I give authoritarians a different target, they won't come for me attitude as Milo with homophobes. The word for them is quizzling, and that is the truth. And Charlotte says, that's because they don't care about feminism. They pretend so they can feel better about their prejudice. Actual feminism doesn't reduce women to their reproductive bits. They disgrace feminism and cite LGBTQ hate. The thing is, if you go look, especially at this LGBT alliance, it's on the same level as... It's on the same level as someone that says that they're gender critical. Because the reality is they're not gender critical. Are they having protests at gender reveal parties? Nope. Are they protesting kids' toys being gendered? Nope. Nope, no protests there. Where are the protests? They protest trans women's events. They try to infiltrate trans events and mock trans women's bodies. It's ironic because they will talk about kids transitioning being child abuse. But, and this is why I will always advocate for trans kids, because of my own experience. I know for myself, I joke in one of the intros that I am a binary trans woman in the body of a non-binary trans woman. And the reason why I say that is not because I'm trying to make a ha-ha funny joke. Is because I know what this face looks like. I know what this body looks like. And, you know, but I also know what my internal gender identity is. And those things don't align. And they never will. They just never will. I know for a fact that no matter what kind of surgeries I have to live with a certain amount of acceptance of who I am in this body transitioned. And Lex in the chat says, I'm helping. Yes, you are. That's why I made you a mod. I'm going to say it again because it never gets old. Fuck TERFs. The gender critical thing is super annoying because they never seem to actually want to learn gender theory. Well, apparently, let me see if I can. I want to see if I can get over to. Don't know how I'm going to do this. Let me see if I can bring up my browser window. So there's a tweet by. Oh, that keyboard doesn't have batteries in it. There is a tweet by a philosopher. Kathleen Stock. Some would say she's a bit transphobic. I would say it's more than that. Her latest, let's see if I can bring this up. It is absurd. So she says, "It's not hard to understand, though, is it? Safeguarding is necessarily coarse-grained. You can't do character testing at the door. So you have to exclude a whole class of people from certain spaces as a precaution because risks from a few of them are great." Okay, so, all right, so if that's where we're going with this, I want you to head over to Twitter, and I want you to search a hashtag, and that hashtag is hashtag. That hashtag is still not trans. Because guess what you're going to find on there? You're going to find a bunch of teachers, cis female teachers, that have sexually assaulted children. So by your own words, Kathleen, cis women should not teach young boys because they're going to sexually assault them. I mean, as a precaution, cis women should not, really, and cis men too. I mean, because who are we gonna? We need robots. We need robots to teach our kids, or trans people, because, you know, if you're talking about numbers of sexual offenders, you know, I mean, there's probably the same amount of female sex offenders as there are trans people altogether in the world. But just saying, I'd have a guess because, you know, numbers of trans people are very small, less than 1%. So by your own words, and how you want to say these people aren't Nazis? They literally want trans people to be a whole class of people to be removed because of cis fear. You know, it wasn't a fear that when a guy shoved me up against a fucking stall and tried to rape me and tried to get me into a headlock. You know, but God forbid. I mean, I'll make you a promise. That's the last. That happened in 2002, and it was the last men's restroom that I'll ever go in my entire life. Because my safety, my actual safety, is more important than your fears. Sorry. Everybody's so worried about self-ID. It's been in place in other places, and people will sit there and say, "Oh, it's been in place in in Ireland, which is true, but it's only been a couple years. And other places for more than that. Guess where it's in place for decades? America. And you don't hear anything about it. Why is that? If this is such an unsafe thing, why do you not hear about it? Self-identification as far as trans people has been happening forever. In America, you don't get a GIC. Excuse me. I got the hiccups. You don't get a GIC. You don't have to go through that process. Depends on the state. But in some place like Indiana, a very conservative place. Mike Pence is from Indiana. He was the governor. And it has a more liberal policy when it comes to trans people. That's how conservative y'all are. You TERFs. You are literally worse than Mike Pence's state. Think about that. Oh dear. And if you go over onto Mumsnet or Reddit or many other trans critical or what it is places, you'll see how these bigots literally they don't want to have a trans teacher. Well, here's this is from Gender Critical Reddit. Someone in a face group I'm a member of posted a picture of their young daughter and her teacher in Halloween costumes. The teacher was obviously trans. Like this. So that made me wonder, what would you do if you brought your child your child to class on the first day and the teacher was trans? Would you have them move to another class? If that wasn't an option, would you move them to another school entirely? Personally, I wouldn't be comfortable with that at all and do whatever I could necessary to have the child taken out of the class. Your child's safer from being sexually assaulted with a trans woman than with a cis woman. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules, but I'll tell you about them. Some random geek is back in the Periscope chat. Lex Hart in the YouTube chat says people still advocating for gay panic is fucking disgusting. Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. That's what I was saying earlier. It's that TERFs do not want trans people to exist. They don't want us to exist. We can't go. We can't buy bras. We can't teach. We can't transition as children, so we don't end up looking like this. You want us to suffer. That's what you want. You want us to be the pariahs that we used to be. You want us to hide like I did. Like I couldn't come out because I was so horrified of this. Sadly for you, I've come to love this. It's the best that I can do with what I have. But when a trans child does not have to go through this, I'm happy for them. When I see a young transitioner because I've been at this for 20 years. Most people don't know because Kristen Williams is such a fantastic managing editor at Trans Advocate that I am the founder of Trans Advocate and led it for a decade. I've been an advocate for 20 years. And I've seen the amazing thing that is people transitioning early and living their best lives. And I'm not going to make excuses for that. And I'm not going to let these TERFs just take back ground that we have fought for decades. The thing is, the one thing that I really love, if you go to WPATH, which is WPATH is the organization that basically it's the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. And WPATH sets the standards of care for most of the world. And the reason that they this isn't something that's just based on theory. They say World Professional Association for Transgender Health, dedicated to professional development, science, ethics, and transgender health since 1979. This is science-based standards of care. It's based on data. It's not based on what you think. It's not based on your ideas about gender. It's based on science. It's based on data. It's based on years of study. What most people don't realize is that this has been studied since, the 1920s. And Harry Benjamin did a lot of work on this kind of stuff as well into the 50s and 60s. So there's been almost close to a decade of research, a century of research, close to it. And, these TERFs will say, well, you just need therapy. Well, what kind of therapy is that? Christian therapy. Because guess what? The standards of care say transition most of the time. So it's just absurd. The main Trans Advocate account, which Kristen is the mistress of, but we actually have more. Our editors all can post if they would like. The Trans Advocate account says, "What should children hear about? What should they hear about when it comes to trans issues? Bigots who hate you will lie about you in order to make their hate seem reasonable. I'm sorry, that's true. But just know that I'm going to do everything I can to protect you and know that you are loved." And that's exactly what they don't want us to do, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that our trans siblings and our trans kids are cared for and loved and respected and heard. That's the biggest thing, that they're heard. Because what's the one thing But they don't know. You know, a 3-year-old can't know their gender. Except when they tell you and they tell you and they tell you and they tell you, and they try to self-harm. They try to cut their penis. But they don't know. You just got to give them therapy. No, sorry, that's not what the studies say. The studies say let them socially transition and they're healthier. They have their mental health rates are the same as their cis counterparts. They go from high to the same. TERFs will make up this stuff like rapid onset gender dysphoria. Anti-abortionists have the same thing. It's called, let me look. If you just type in Google, abortion syndrome. Post-abortion stress syndrome. You know what? It doesn't exist. It's the same thing as rapid onset gender dysphoria. It's a made-up term. It's a term that's made up to sound scientific that has no basis in fact. And that when you look at it, it's essentially an ideology hunting for facts to suit what they want to find. And anything that doesn't fit into that, sorry. They are conservatives. They are just the same as the anti-abortion people. They just want different people policing bodies. SWERFs, TERFs, they want control of your bodies. It's no different than the pastor that wants control over your body. It's just the only difference is who they want to do those things. The ideology is the same. Some random geek says a mom can get it. 11 out of 12 of a jury can get it. But sometimes one dad and one judge won't get and overturn things. Save Luna. Hashtag save Luna. The reality in that is that because what do the conservatives say? TERFs, I'm including in this, TERFs, right-wingers, Christian conservatives. What do they all say about this? The mother is trying to force the child to be trans. That is a lie. Plenty of people will say it's dishonest, it's ignorant, it's all these things. No. It is a lie. This child has been seen by therapists and evaluated more than once. And they both say the same thing. Transition, socially transition. Does the kid act like he doesn't want to do this at some point when his dad is pressuring him? With all that in mind, what's the outcome? The outcome is not based on what's best for the child, because obviously, if you look at the science, if you look at the data, if you look at the standards of care, what do they say? You let the child socially transition. But these people don't care. They care more about a hypothetical human being than actual lives. They don't care about trans lives. They don't care about trans kids. They don't give a shit. They want to throw them in. They want to throw them away. They don't want them to exist. They don't want us to exist. They don't want trans kids to exist. Well, they'll be gay instead. because they desist. Well, first of all, that's complete bullshit. And have you done longitudinal studies on that? Like on how happy are those kids in their lives because they didn't transition? I wasn't gay. I was I didn't know I was bisexual, but yeah. But how many of those people lived really fucked up, confused lives? You know? I don't want this and all that came through me to be this, to have to happen to these kids. Because it doesn't have to. They can live their best lives. Regret for transitioning, especially when you're a child, because they'll say, oh, they're giving hormones to infants. That's not how it works. When kids know about their own gender identity, therapists will tell them, let them express it. If they want to wear a dress, let them wear a dress. If they want to paint their fingernails, let them paint their fingernails. Let them do what they naturally express and what they want to do. Don't gender toys. If they want to play a doll with Barbies or a doll, let them. But if they tell you they're trans, freaking listen to them. But no, your ideology is more important. It's absurd. By the way, if you want to call in and talk about this,
you can call the show in the US toll free at 866-727-9070 and in the UK toll free 808-189-0928.
So yeah, and Bryn Tannehill says, for what seems like the millionth time, 85% of dysphoric teens do not desist. I apologize for the hiccups. That number was cooked up under the old DSM and applied to pre-pubertal youth at that. In reality, 96% of trans adolescents persist in their identity. And she provides a link. So, again, they don't want us to exist. And there was a post over at the Christian Post. The transgender cult stole my daughter. Your beloved child has been kidnapped by a sadistic cult. The cult brainwashes her to believe you are the enemy. The brainwashing erases her entire childhood. Every good memory is replaced with memories of abuse that never happened. The cult convinces her to inject poison into her body and get healthy parts amputated. You panic, you scream, you sob, you beg, you reduce to nothing. You search everywhere for help. Nobody will help you. This sounds like a hellscape, doesn't it? The world has gone mad. Mad, I tell you. I have sound effects over here, by the way. Yeah, but I don't think they're working right now. But I get back to this. You find out that the cult is kidnapping thousands of other young girls and boys, and the government is funding the cult. You grieve, and the other parents going through you grieve with other parents going through the exact same thing. Society celebrates the cult and ridicules parents who fight back. Some parents are willingly hand over their children to the cult and cheer their child's destruction. The child you love and everything in you the child would die for is now unrecognizable, replaced by someone who holds you in contempt. She is now part of the cult. You sob day after day, night after night, wondering how many tears one human can cry. You scream when you see her severed breasts and collapse, sobbing, my God, what have they done to my baby? First of all, the fact that you're obsessing over your child's breasts, that kind of makes me sick. It's gross. You nearly drink yourself to death when you find out that the cult cut out her entire reproductive system. Again. This person says, No. They took my baby's womb. They took her eggs. She doesn't know any better. She's still a little girl. First off, the person that is the object of this is 25 fucking years old. This person has been legally an adult for 7 years. But you see this person as your baby. You reach out to every government agency you can think of and every organization to fight the cult. You fly to see her twice in 6 weeks to beg, to plead with her not to let the cult do this next terrible thing. You beg the cult to stop torturing your daughter. You beg authorities to help you. Nobody will help your daughter. You cannot stop it, so you beg, please don't hurt my daughter. Here, take my arm instead. All of it if you need to. I don't need it, just take it. Your attempts are futile. You cannot stop the torture. You cannot, so you just sit alone in a hotel room, sobbing until you choke on your own tears, praying with everything in you, hugging a pillow, rocking back and forth, pretending it is your baby, while you softly sob. Your baby. Your 25-year-old baby. While you softly sob a song. You are my sunshine. My only sunshine. You are 25, but you're still a baby and can't make choices for yourself, like an abortion or transition. Yeah. You call another mother whose daughter's breasts have been cut off by this cult. You sob together. And it goes on and on and on and on. When you look at these people, I don't want to go into the particulars, but there's a woman in Christian circles that goes on and on about how she's lost her child to the cult. Guess what? She chooses to not see her child. She chooses to not have her children in her life. I'm reminded of a banner or a meme that I saw at one time that where they talk about failure of a parent isn't raising a child that ends up being gay. Rejecting that child is failure. When you reject your trans child for your religion, when your religion becomes more important to you than your own child's happiness, their health, their mental health, then you are fucked. You are a piece of shit in my eyes. And you are a failure. It makes me sick that someone cares more about their religion than they do about their own child. And you'll use that, your beliefs, to basically put yourself on a pedestal and go out and talk about, oh, how I've lost a child. I've lost a child to the trans cult. No, your child is an adult. It's a 25-year-old that's making choices for themselves and that you don't agree with, so you reject them. That's gross. It's sad, and it's your fault. No one else's. It's not the trans cult fault. It's not doctor's fault. It's yours. Because you care more about your ideology than you do your flesh and blood. What kind of person is that? To me, that's a failure. It's a failure. And it's not somebody that I want to have in my life. It's not somebody that I want to have in my circle ever. It's failure when you don't love your kids. I would give my right arm, but you won't love them. You won't actually just love them. The absurdity of it, it blows my mind. You are willing to give your arm, but not your heart. At the end of the day, that is the bottom line. You won't give your heart. You won't give your soul to your child because you're already giving it to a religion. That's more important to you. So this is the kind of people that TERFs are. They are Christians. They are conservatives. In some instances, I don't know. I feel like their attitudes, when you're saying a whole class of people should be kicked out of a certain space, to me, that's pretty close to some kind of cleansing, and it's gross. At the very least, it's separate but equal. And they used to do that for black people, you know. How'd that work out? Never was really equal, was it? So that's it for tonight, I think. Thanks, everybody. I am going to have a post show after this. I'm going to stop recording here in a minute. But I wanted to tell everyone that we're going to have a weekly show coming up. There are going to be lots of guests. We're going to have probably a topic like this. We'll have a guest on. And then a commentary. Also, by the way, you can support the podcast, the stream.
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when we go live.
Oh, I think that's this one that I wanted to share with you.
We're streaming live on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Mixer, and Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook by searching for Tea Party Podcast. That's the letter T followed by Party Podcast, all one word. And on Twitter and Instagram at Marty Abernathy. You can financially support the show by making a one-time donation by going to trans.fm or by becoming a monthly patron at patreon.com/Marty Abernathy. That's MartyAbernathy.
Yes, if you go to the Patreon page, actually, we're going to have some Patreon. Basically, if you go there and for $1, you can come into our live stream, Patreon live stream, where you can be on the show, and we can have a little party together. Right now, that's a party of one, but it's a party of one awesome person. Her name is Melissa Brown, and she is my one patron, but she's a $20 patron. So, solidarity to you, Melissa. Thank you. Again, like I said, 86 Shines, Southport High School, Cardinal forever. Yeah. So, thank you to Melissa. She'll be when we do a patron live stream, she'll be my one patron in there, unless somebody else decides to go support us. I will say that when it comes to donations, those donations they won't be tax deductible because we're not a nonprofit. But the only thing that I am serious about this, the only thing that we're going to be doing with that money is reinvesting it into the show for equipment, for anything to make the show better. Once we get to a point where I feel like that this is sustaining itself and that we don't need any more equipment, we don't need anything else like that, the money that we get monthly, we will pick charities, and like Trans Advocate, for one. Trans Advocate is a nonprofit, and it helps spread, it helps to educate the community. It is a nonprofit. So mermaids here in the UK, we will also end up donating. I have no doubt that we will end up donating to mermaids. By the way, that reminds me of H Bomber Guy is the bomb, and it's pretty fucked up when this is a side note, he's being chastised by Natalie Wynn, ContraPoints, and he's done more for trans kids than Natalie's done. Sorry. And I know there's a bunch of stands out there, contra stands, that disagree, but what has she really done besides make videos about her opinions and herself? Literally, she has conversations with herself. H Bomber Guy had an actual fucking stream, and money, close to what, 350,000 pounds, I believe, was donated to a charity that helps trans kids' lives. So that's my goal. That's what I want to see with this, is that it sustains itself, it grows, kind of like how Trans Advocate grew into something that is more of a community resource. But I can't do that on my own. I've invested for this equipment, and I like doing this, and I plan on doing this as much as I can because I love my community. I love this. I love doing this, even though it's really hard. It's hard from the standpoint of I have a lot of dysphoria that I have to deal with, and looking into that and seeing this. Yeah, so anyways. Yes, there will be a weekly edition of this called This Week in TERFs. Lex Hart said, in the words of Chelsea Manning, we got this. And we do. So all of you non-binary people, my trans brothers and sisters, I love you. Until next time, stay safe, support each other, love each other, and just be there for each other. Take care, everybody.
You're listening to The Tea Party, part of the Trans FM radio network. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when we go live. You're listening to the audio podcast version of The Tea Party. You can watch the video broadcast on Facebook, Periscope, Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube. You can find links in the show notes.
If you're wondering what that was, that just ended the podcast version. Jonathan in the chat said, but goodbye, comrades and potential comrades. By the way, Jonathan, you are an administrator, so I believe that you can post and for us to be able to help our community and our comrades, because I am not just a trans woman. What am I? What am I?
Welcome to The Tea Party with Marty Abernathy, a show starring a binary trans woman born in the body of a non-binary atheist, trade unionist,
That's
equality advocate, and anarcho syndicalist that self-identifies as an unhinged fear pimp,
That's
outrage brigade commander, free speech police officer, SJW, and a bad faith agent of chaos.
That's right. So join me next time in another fabulous edition. I love you guys. Take care.